I pretty much was doing my old radio show, but on television, obviously. And yet I did immediately make the mental adjustments, oddly enough, with not much philosophical forethought, but sort of ad-libbing contextually, made the transition. In fact, your question now recalls the very first routine I ever wrote and performed on television. I wrote it in Hollywood before I got there. I didn't mention this before. If I did, stop me, as they say.
I don't think you did.
Okay. I had noticed, and anyone old enough will recall, that television had one dreadfully serious and annoying technical problem in those days. It was called rollover, and it worked like this. You'd be looking at a picture of anything, a football game, two people talking, doesn't matter. And suddenly, about an inch wide on the screen at home, bar would appear and roll right down through your picture. And then, of course, once it got to the bottom, suddenly it would appear again at the top. And it was annoying. So I wrote this routine, which involved having our stage crew take a 2x4 and wrap it in black velvet. And I had two guys hold it standing off camera outside up high, and I watched a television set so I'd be able to ride with it. And as I spoke, what had nothing to do with what I was talking about, suddenly they lowered this black velvet covered bar, which looked exactly at home like a rollover bar. And I lowered my head little by little as the thing came down. There's no punchline to the thing. And the people in the studio got a big kick out of it. The people at home couldn't make any sense of it at all, because I would get down to my knees and then steadily stand up again. But that was the first thing I ever wrote for TV. Al Spann, the producer who had worked with me, as I said before, on radio and TV in Hollywood, knew that I was, I shouldn't say at my best, because if we assume there ever was a best, but it was fortunate for me because of my working style to get into predicaments, and very rarely of my own devising, to get into some kind of trouble. I didn't realize I was involved in so doing with a very ancient comic tradition, that the hero of the movie is in trouble, he's hanging off a cliff or whatever, or about to get shot. How does he get out of it? So the very first show that I can remember, we had as a guest a juggler, acrobat type guy, very strong physical specimen. And one of his routines was to take a regular table, anybody's kitchen table, put a kitchen chair on top of it, put another kitchen chair balanced at an odd angle on top of that, and then somehow he had contrived to have 4 champagne bottles under the legs of, I guess, the bottom chair. So he would get up there without collapsing and killing himself. And then he said to me, "Mr. Allen, come on up." This is like being, we're on top of Mount Everest, Charlie, come on up. I don't even know how to get on a table but by itself without, a lot of help. So somehow he got me up there, and this was live TV, so there's nothing we could have done except bleed if I'd all fallen down. And I was actually scared, because high doesn't seem high unless you're the one that's up high. Then 10 feet seems like 57. So here I am hanging over what looked like no space at all on his arm. I don't know what I was sitting. I guess I was still in the chair, but it was dangerous, and looked at. And as soon as I got up there, the audience burst into tremendous applause, as if I deserved applause for being panicked. So I remember what I said to them. I looked at them and I said, "Stop all that lousy applause or I'll get killed up here." The sarcastic approach to life.